And that's why I found this so interesting is I was just going through some of the media outlets that we have kind of been following, and this kind of just popped out to me in a very interesting way. So in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and play the video, and then I can tell you some of the things I really appreciated about it.
Sounds good.
Hyperlocal journalism, Lisbon's Mensagem. This episode of Today in News Tech is made possible with audio articles by ourhometown.com. Today we're highlighting a piece by Jez Walters at What's New in Publishing. The article, Can Portugal's Mensagem be a new hyperlocal publishing model? Interviews co-founder Catarina Carvalho about a new digital newspaper, Mensagem, that launched in central Lisbon, Portugal in February 2021. The outlet is funded by the management of a local cafe, as well as being the recipient of funding from the Google News Initiative Growth Program and the Facebook Accelerator Program. Our journalism is supported by a membership program that includes special events and community discussions/talks, and that is a core of what we do, creating a community hub both online and offline. Our core readers are those who are deeply engaged with the city of Lisbon, both young and old, said Carvalho. Here are a few of our big takeaways. The outlet focuses on local stories which inspire readers, a positive, narrative style which engages with coverage of their own neighborhood. The digital-only publication has a strong presence on Facebook and Instagram, as that is where its members are, on platforms that allow for visually compelling content. The publishing model, constructive, positive storytelling, has a future for many localities, possibly franchised across different territories. Creating a community news presence can be a daunting challenge for local residents, depending on the number of people involved. To address these challenges, our hometown provides services that scale from the smallest daily or weekly publication to full-scale integration of content, subscriptions, and ad networks.
So one of the things that really struck me, I'm going to bring up the original article here. One of the cool things about this is that it was founded by a former editor-in-chief at Diario de Noticias, which is the country's oldest daily newspaper. And she decided that she wanted to go into a different way, much more local stuff. So they have this cafe that the management gave them some startup funding, and then they got the Google funding and the Facebook stuff. But what's interesting is they actually use the cafe as the home base for
cool
engagement with. They do presentations, they have events, debates.
Sure.
It's capturing the old Europe, artisans hanging out, artists, writers, and just discussing things at a cafe over coffee. And then that turns into content, super hyper local content for this publication. I love it. I love this so much. Yeah.
It's such a cool idea. You're right in the community. If you were to redesign how a local news organization would work, I would think it'd be more like this, not necessarily you're in your newsroom in your news building, isolated. If you could be interacting with people all day long, it's fascinating. I think they actually moved out of the cafe, but this is the same exact idea I saw at a newspaper startup in Texas. I think we were talking to them at one point about using audio articles, and then they were on ENP podcasts. But this idea of having like this second business, in the case of Texas, I think the owner owned the coffee shop and the newspaper. But, in this case, they were kind of funded by the coffee shop. But yeah, so you're making money, through this local business. And
in addition, that they have an actual membership program that sounds a lot like a co-op. And they don't even say subscribers, they say members.
Right. And they probably have some benefits built in, with the coffee shop, maybe some kind of like punch card with that or something, or you could do that and it would make perfect sense. What a great way to support local business. You're bringing in traffic, for the events too. I've always thought this would be a cool idea, having even like a newspaper run out of like the local library or something. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It always made sense to me.
And it's a super small team here. I mean, 2 senior journalists, editor, and a few freelance writers. But if you have the community, the so-called members, coming in to weekly meetings or however, and just talking about what's going on in the neighborhood. The lady that was helping by bringing food around during when people were in COVID quarantine, and all these kind of things that might not pop up on other news sites. This is where they're focusing their attention, and it seems really just a positive thing.
Yeah, it definitely seems positive. I mean, it looks like they have a Zoom call going on in that picture. I'm not sure if that's an editorial meeting or something, but I was just going to say the idea of events is great. You know, people could be doing virtual events. I think something like our weekly office hours would make sense as a model for a lot of local newspapers. You know, it'd be very convenient for anyone to dial in and just listen to the publisher and editor talk about their stories. And that's all that we're doing here. We're looking at our website. You're reading off of the blog, and you know, you could come up with some really interesting video content that way. And
viewers could interact through chats and things like that. So there could be some real-time interaction between the publishers, customers, readers, whoever it happens to be watching the office hours.
Exactly. Right. I've seen publishers dabble with this. The most sustainable things are things like I've seen with the Henrico News Daily podcast, where he just produces that himself. Even if it was just like a one-way broadcast at first, and then you started taking questions. The reason I'm thinking of that is because then you could extend the membership benefits to more things, just keep giving them more and more things. So one thing would be some kind of exclusive access on the weekly office hours where, you know, they can ask questions or they get their questions answered on the air or something as a subscriber.
Yeah, submit something beforehand for a discussion topic.
Yeah, exactly. Take the questions ahead of time so it's a more thorough discussion and not just kind of a on-the-fly reaction. Yeah, so very cool. Yeah, so we'll be reaching out to her. She commented on our tweet.
She said, just reach out for a personal visit.
Yeah, so really look at cool. How open she is to connections. So yeah, she's just like really dialed into the digital world. I love it when, I come across journalists that really know how to use Twitter well. It's a great resource, I think, just both for industry news, like we use it, but also on the local level. All right. Anything else you want to go over on this article, Chris?
This was just my feel-good story for the week.
It's right. It's a perfect feel-good story for our industry. Yeah.
One of the things that we used to do is we actually in our borough, we have a meeting once a month for new businesses in the area, and it's called Marketplace on High Street. And it's basically a welcome get together for all new businesses. And as a paper, I would go there and offer discounts on advertising, kind of like a meet and greet and grease the wheels, so to speak, But also in September, when things start to slow down and before the kickoff for the Christmas holiday and that for advertising, I would invite them to the paper. We would have breakfast ready for them, donuts, bagels, coffee, the whole nine. And that way, if they had any things that they wanted to come up with, because not everybody has a advertising budget that is substantial, in my opinion. Everybody says they don't have money. So, but that would actually give them an incentive, see what we had to offer. We could go over anything. But we also used to do other things too. Like we used to have coffee and a cup. We would invite schools and everything to the paper, see how the papers run, get them involved with local law enforcement, and build that community feel. Because like I said before, that's important. You're giving that to your subscriber base. I always wanted to be forefront in the community. And those were just some of the fun things we used to do. And it kind of ties in with this.
Absolutely. A lot of these things just seem to be good marketing practices in general. The idea of building a community where you're just providing this space and they're providing these events, kind of orchestrating all that. That's a service that they're providing, just no charge kind of up front. The way I see it at our hometown, we have the same approach, and we're really excited about this campaign that we have this year for a digital marketing educational webinar series that we're going to be launching. It's going to be January 27th is the first one. That, to me is just like, we're just, setting up shop in this virtual space. It's basically like a conference concept, but it's totally virtual, and people are accumulating, and if all they walk away from it with is new knowledge about our hometown as an option, that's all that I want out of it. Hopefully some people will hear about us and they'll be looking for a solution, and we can help them out right away with the website. But the main goal is to educate and to create a community of publishers around these topics and just make use of the technology.
I did want to make one more point about this, is because just because this is a collaborative venture between the members and that. What I think really sets us apart is it's still curated. It's not a free-for-all like a social media platform is. And I think that's a really, really important service. It's open. It's transparent. They want to hear from you. You want to hear from them and all that, but it doesn't turn into just a big noise box because this is curated by actual publishers, actual journalists.
Exactly. It's preserved the important stuff, what makes a newspaper work and a publication actually work, and what distinguishes it from the algorithms, which are what some people have thought of as the next generation of publishers. But you're always going to need that person curating and providing direction to the whole conversation. I didn't notice this on the site. Do they take a lot of user content and kind of republish it, or is it just
what I believe is it's through the cafe or through these online meetings, people who are members of the outlet itself, not necessarily the publishing staff, but all the community members are engaged. Like literally engaged. And then of course, then it comes up to, the publishers say, oh, that would make a great story. Oh, let's do that. Let's do that. So I would assume that a certain amount of the content actually does come from the community and then is repackaged into a polished and as you said, beautiful website.
Thanks for watching Today in News Tech, the podcast covering innovation in digital journalism. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and subscribe on YouTube or any of your favorite podcast apps. We'll see you tomorrow.
At our hometown, we help newspapers build WordPress websites, design native apps, and develop digital subscription models. If you are interested in a free prototype of your publication on WordPress, go to ourhometown.com and click the Contact Us button.